Bonjour, bienvenue dans le dernier épisode de FPL Affairs, the podcast where we talk about our 9-month-long love affair with FPL, including the ins and outs that keep us awake at night. In our review video, we look back at the entirety of Gameweek 25, including Aston Villa versus Liverpool, what 3 things we've learned, and update you with how Jack and I are getting on with our assistant managership. Let's get cracking.
And there's Mo Salah. There goes Haaland. He's on his way again. He's hungry. He's scored. Ice-cold precision from Palmer. Oh, Saka! That is a diamond of a goal.
Hello everybody, welcome to the latest episode of FPL Affairs with me, Matt, aka The Veteran, and significantly apt this week that my accompanied co-host, Jack, aka The Master, is definitely valiant of that title this week, even more so Mystic Master, which he will explain in a moment. So, should we just jump straight in and take a peek at those teams?
Let's do it. I'm really excited.
Right. Now, very quick spoiler. I know I don't have the Newcastle flag behind me in the backdrop, and it looks different, and it's a different set of curtains. That's not rebelling because of the result. Although it did mean I conveniently forgot to pack it in my suitcase as I'm in Paris at the moment. But anyway, that's enough of that because I'm not stealing Jack's thunder this week.
Right.
Today's episode, a full review starting with Jack. Talk us through your team.
Okay, so starting off with the disappointments in my horrendous week was Isak with 2. Very disappointing Newcastle performance. Hence why Matt's decided not to support them anymore. Cole Palmer with another blank, which is just getting silly. And Rodgers with a double blank, so that's nice. Robinson lost his clean sheet. I always thought he would. 2 would, to be fair. But I thought I'd put him there for his attacking potential because it was between him, Hall and Mikalenko. Hall obviously got 0 and Robinson got 2, so that was kind of a win. The big hitters, the winners from the week, were Flecken. I think deserves a special mention for getting probably his first clean sheet of the season and 3 bonus points, getting me 10 points, which was very kind of him to turn up. Gabriel with a clean sheet, 6 points. My transfer in of Dango Otara, and I was at the Southampton game. I was just telling Matt before we started recording that he scored and did a knee slide right in front of where I was stood to a point where I almost thought that he knew I put him in my team and we were celebrating together. And I was probably the only person in the stand that was like slightly pleased that we'd just gone 1-0 down. And my other transfer in for Chris Wood was Ollie Watkins, who got 15 points, which was a nice return. Obviously, taking out Chris Wood was difficult because I had a million set in him because I've had him since game week 6. It's half the reason why I've managed to sort of stay in the top few 100k. But he returned with 15, so I was quite pleased with that. And his ownership was only 18% around me, so that was quite a nice differential. Salah obviously with 40 captained, so 20 points with 40. But again, his effective ownership was over 200, so it was almost like you were hoping he wasn't going to do well, which was odd. And then Trent with 13, with a clean sheet and a goal last night. The goal last night was that was quite pleasing to see because after they lost their clean sheet, which was to Watkins, I was a bit worried he was going to blank, but then he scored. Oh no, it was to Tielemans, sorry. So yeah, that was ideal. And then I also did Moyes to Emery this week, who got a nice 14 points. It was 4 points after the game against Ipswich, which I was really disappointed with, considering the obviously level of opposition. But he got 10 points last night, so that table bonus helped me out massively. And that gave me a total of 117 points. And I took my first hit of the season, which was I did Moyes to Emery early, and then I wanted to get Watkins in. So I did Dango to Gordon, and then I did Gordon to Dango, and then I did Chris Wood to Watkins because I wanted to give Gakpo essentially a chance of playing. He didn't, so Sarr came off my bench. But 117 down to -4. That gave me a game week rank of 102k, which is my highest of the season yet. That was a lovely big green arrow, taking me up to 58k from 109k, which is a change of 46%. So a massive week for me, flying up the ranks. So very happy.
I was getting frustrated because every time I looked at live FPL to update the slide with all the games, just ranking situations seemed to change. Like yours, I'm sure when I updated the data on the slide, I did it about 3 times after the game on Wednesday. You've looked at the app and it's different again. So I've got on the slide 117k game week rank, but that's only small. The main important one's 58k, which I have got. As we were saying in the beginning, and about why did I, aka you, missed it, master this week?
Well,
Any
anybody
ideas?
that watched last week's video might have heard me say that I thought that the Liverpool Villa game would be a Desmond Tutu, which is exactly what it was. I thought that it would be a score draw. I just think Unai Emery. I just think he's got big teams in him. He just seems to just get results against big teams.
Yeah.
He's made a career out of being really successful in big games. And Villa, because of all of the noise around Bournemouth and all of the noise around Forest, Villa again have crept under the radar. And that squad that they're building there, I mean, Rashford, from what I read, I didn't watch the game last night, but from what I read, seemed to have sort of refined his form. They had Asensio on there, they had Marlon on there. It's like playing FIFA 2019. Like it was just a real throwback to some unreal players. And yeah, I just fancied them against Liverpool because Liverpool have been playing like Thursday, Sunday for a couple of weeks now. So they're getting leggy and starting to get a bit tired. The manager change on Emery was also hoping that Chelsea would beat Brighton, so that they would be table bonus for when Villa play Chelsea this week. There was obviously loads of different ways it could have gone. Obviously, if Villa had beaten Ipswich as well and stuff like that. But I was just hoping to see if maybe the chips would sort of fall in my favour.
Yeah. We'll discuss the manager bit in a mo. I'll just, after your delightful green arrow, jump onto mine. Won't spend anywhere near as long. Okay, yeah. So still stuck with slot, 13 points. So from the double game week, so from the 4 fixtures from him, I've got 28 points in total. And I think if anyone's seen stats, those people that did Moyes for a week and jumped to Emery would have 36 from that. So sticking with slot is been the lower end of the different combos for that, but it is what it is. So 13 from him, 3 from Pickford in goal, Gabriel's clean sheet, getting 6, and he was on for some bonus points for a large chunk of that game, and then it whittled down, and I think post game he got stripped of the final bonus point, and it was given to Raya instead. Williams and Munoz both with a solitary point each. Gordon and Isak 2 each. Rogers usual blank for him with a delightful 4. Salah's painful 40. Where because there were obviously some triple captain chips played on him. His ownership was over 200%. So despite captaining him, every time he returned actually hurt my rank, which is depressing. Woods 9 points. That later on goal that did wonders, and Diaz in particular on Sunday. Sunday was a big swing for me. I actually both FPL. I said to Jack before, and I said it in our admin group chat. Literally about 25 minutes into the 3 o'clock kickoff, as soon as my move scored the third goal against Newcastle, I was just like, oh, I'm done with football for the weekend, because I had no involvement from FPL, no involvement in any of the goals up to that point in any of the fixtures, and all the goals that had gone in had hurt my ranks. This is going to be painful. So I didn't look at scores or anything for the rest of Saturday or a large chunk of Sunday. It was only really when Jack sent me a message that Diaz had scored that made me brave looking, and looked at it, and at the end of play I was 9 points above my safety score, and I was very much how on earth has that happened? I was just looking through the team and seeing 3 points, 1 point, 1 point, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. Salah knowing he'd hurt the rank, and it had literally Slot, Gabriel, Diaz and Wood, those 4 players. Which then the fixture on Wednesday, the 2-2 draw, hurt me because Diaz was benched, which meant I was relying on the whole of the Liverpool team to get something for Slot, because I had no other Villa assets. So how I managed to avoid a red is beyond me. Very small green arrow. 96 points. At one point it was 99, but then bonus got whittled away. Safety score was 93. My current total score is 1,656. My old rank was 482k, and after game week 25, 8.69% rise to 440k. So that is me and a small green arrow shooting up from the bottom. Right, 3 things from game week 25 that you have learnt.
Well, it seems like hindsight, but I think you've got to attack double game weeks. I really do. I think if you look last week at players like Beto, defenders like Tarkovsky, Pickford, Allison. I think Trent got 6 last week or something along those lines. But yeah, I think you, and obviously Watkins this week with 15. I just look in here as well. Rogers XG against Ipswich was 0.83, which is his highest of the season. So the fact that he didn't walk away with a return in that game is just because his XGI, expected goal involvement, was 0.95, which is the highest of his season by 0.2, 0.1. So it's massive. So yeah. So I think attack double game weeks. Now, again, chip strategy comes into it. I'm free hitting in 29. You're not free hitting in 29. So I think ranks are the other thing I've learned this week is ranks are going to fluctuate massively, either for you or against you. If you are playing the assistant manager chip, chances are you're going to get a green arrow. if you're not playing the assistant manager chip, regardless of how well you do, you're likely to get a red arrow. However, you and I, for example, might be sat in game week 36, both having perfectly really good weeks, but on a red, because those that didn't play their assistant managership now will be playing it then and will be disheartened by that. And also, the other thing that I did think about when you were talking about the slot points is, and this is something that I'll learn for next year, is that although the difference between Slot and Moyes Emery was 8 points, I ended up taking a hit because one of the transfers was on a manager. Do you see what I mean? So that would take it down to a -4, which means that so you saved that transfer and you saved that hit.
Yeah.
Which is whereas I took the hit to change the manager. Really, I wanted Watkins and I wanted Dango because I wanted Dango because again he's playing against Southampton. He's got a nice run of fixtures coming up, and I wanted Watkins. And if there was no assistant manager chip, those would have been the two moves that I'd make. So the assistant manager chip cost me a -4, and you didn't. Excuse me, you didn't need to take a hit. So you see what I mean. So maybe the difference is slightly different than just 8 points. But yeah, I think those are the main things. Is to maybe, I'm not saying this because I've had a good week, but obviously attack double game weeks it should be like a huge rule of thumb in the game. And the other one is also don't look too much into your rank either, because I've obviously had a good week, but there's free hits to play, there's bench boosts to play, there's players that triple captain last week that haven't played their assistant manager chip yet, those that triple captain this week that haven't used it yet. So there's plenty of rank fluctuation coming. And I think you're just going to have to sort of stay patient and just deal with it.
Yeah, the other thing which I think I'll add as the final thing really learnt from 25 is the announcement that Newcastle versus Crystal Palace in 29 has been confirmed to be placed in game week 32, which wasn't expected. A lot was expected for it to be game week 33, but it isn't. So it means game week 32 is a double game week. And I think rumours therefore floating around are that there's the window of game week 30, 31 and 32, or even 31, 32, 33 for assistant manager chip to be played to get at least one double, possibly even two if you use it in game weeks 31, 32, 33, which will switch really next into topic of conversation, because the final chat was just the update on how the assistant manager chip is going. With 2 out of the 3 weeks into it, as an overall view on how you've done with it so far, you mentioned about the 4-point hit being the difference. Would you, if you still had the chip and not have played it and just been watching the last 2 weeks out of interest, what would you do with it moving forwards then? Hypothetically speaking, what would you advise people that haven't used it?
Well, I think just quickly going to that Newcastle double, if I had triple captain left, I'd be very tempted by Isak in 32 with United at home and Palace at home. So yeah, so if obviously that would probably be you, that would be, and again, so I don't have my triple captain left, and a lot of people will put their triple captain on Isak there. So I may have a good week and get a red arrow. So I'm just gonna have to sort of deal with it. That's chips for you. I think it the Premier League's really hard to predict. So, for example, if you'd have told me that Emery would have got 4 points against Ipswich and 10 points against Liverpool, I'd have said I think you've got that the wrong way round. So it's very risky the strategy that I've taken has been very risky by going Moyes and Emery as opposed to just having Slot. Also decided how it's landed for managers that have been riskier at the moment. The table bonus games have been against Liverpool at top of the league. So that's obviously added an extra dynamic. It's not like it's been on like a, I don't know, it's not like it's been on a Tottenham and they've played Fulham and Brighton and Villa. And so do you see what I mean? There's more of a chance of them getting a win in that game. Like the assistant manager chip played at this time, for those that didn't go Slot, you've had to play Liverpool twice. So that's hard. But I think it's paid off, to be honest. My overall thing is I think it's paid off. And if I didn't have it and I was looking at it, I would be looking at later on in the season trying to find a team that don't play Liverpool twice, because I mean I feel lucky that I got 2 draws at Liverpool, because they're unbeaten for games, and there was a last minute winner, and Villa came from 1-0 down to go 2-1 up to then be 2-2. So yeah, if I had the chip left, I'd be looking at using it either in that Newcastle double in 32. If there's a double in 33 and 34, I would try and get as many fixtures as I could. I wouldn't be using it in 3 single game weeks. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be using it in just one double. If you can get 2 doubles in there, use it then. Because again, Emery had 4 points against Ipswich this week. And if that was a single game week, you'd be absolutely gutted with that. So the Premier League is so unpredictable that I feel like you need 2 chances at it.
Yeah.
And my other thought would be that if you are going to take the route of multiple managers, then have the transfers saved in advance in order to do that, and plan that if you're going to want to attack double game week players. So for those that are playing it in 32, 33, that will be hopefully for those that have still got it post wildcard. So they'll be able to wildcard double game week players that are likely to play in those games. So therefore their transfers will be saved and used on the manager change, as opposed to what I had to do, which was to make changes in order to get Ollie Watkins in, where I had to find the money and then bring him in. And then I also had to make the manager change. So, yeah, that would be my advice to anybody else.
I think really my reflection of the assistant manager chip, had I not caved, because I wasn't intending on playing it when it got announced. When the mystery chip got announced as the assistant manager chip, I was like, right, I'm going to focus on the table bonus. That's what I want to do. Play it when you've got 2 mid-table teams playing, so maybe one around about 8th or something, and one about 13th, that sort of bracket.
Yeah.
Where you're looking at, your Fulham, your Crystal Palace, you're certainly earlier on in the season, those teams that really could beat either, and targeting, right, we'll look at when the team around 13th, say, for example, or 12th, whatever it is, those teams are at home to a team 5 places above them, which means you're looking at the clubs in and around the maybe 6th in the league down to 13th, 14th. That's what I wanted to target. But then I sort of ended up, there were 2 reasons why I went with Slot. One because I was like a bit overwhelmed and just sort of put it on him, and it was 5 minutes before the deadline. I ended up rolling just because I wanted keeping Slot, because even after I activated it on him, I wanted to change it for the second week, but I didn't, and just kept it because I've had half an eye on game week 29, which we'll cover in our preview video for game week 26. But yeah, I'm sort of disappointed with it this season because how I've played it to date is not how really I wanted to play it. I wanted to utilize it to have a bit of risk involved and not just plonk it on the best team, the manager of the best team, because that just feels boring and a bit of a waste of the upside. And
I think with
it
the
hasn't
game week,
materialised
go
that.
on.
But
Sorry, mate.
yeah,
I think with the game week 25 double announcement, people's hands were forced. So what would have been nicer would have been to have a bit more of a run up to it. So, for example, if they announced the double was going to be in 24 and 25 in 21, then you'd have had a bit more of a run up to prepare for it and to think about which way you were going to go. What you basically got was 2 days to look, and very much team dependent on whether you were going to, if you were tripled up on Liverpool, you were either going to remove a Liverpool asset to bring in Slot, which is what you did for Alisson, or you were going to keep your Liverpool assets and go for Moyes, which is what I was going to do. So you didn't really have a lot of time to figure it out because you just knew probably this season that this was going to be the only opportunity. This was obviously before the 32 double announcement. So you just basically found out that you had 24, 25 and 26. That was the only time you were going to get 5 fixtures from the assistant manager chip, and you had a choice of 2 managers. So at that point, it's like it almost removed the fun of it. Then it very much became team dependent or risk dependent, and then you were basically stuck with a 50-50. Now it's landed in my favour versus yours, but it could have easily gone the other way, and we could. But it's just felt that little bit more underwhelming, even for me, who's it's been more successful for me than it has you. But it's still been an underwhelming chip because the teams that I've had haven't gone and done what Moyes did or what Brighton did in that first week. And no one's got like 18 points in a game. No one's had that 2 goals clean sheet table bonus. No one's experienced that. So yeah, it's just not been it's not been really enjoyable for anybody really, just based on how it's landed.
yeah. So, well, if you have found the Mystic Masters team intriguing and looking at how sort of his thought processes were, perhaps potentially, and really with some players, patience, then let us know in the comments, and any questions you've got or any opinions of his team or my team. Terrible. It feels like, but anyway, then get in touch, x.com at FPL Affairs. FPL Affairs, the name of the Facebook group that we originate from, and our YouTube channel at FPL Affairs, where we've got our updates. And certainly as we're entering chip season, please watch our Idiot's Guide to Chip Strategies. And if you have not used your assistant manager chip because you're like, what on earth is all this 18 points lark? Then we've also got an Idiot's Guide to the Assistant Manager chip 2 on there. Any final thoughts on the week, or do you think we've pretty much covered it?
No, pretty much covered it, yeah. Looking forward to next week.
All that's left to say is keep your FPL affairs under wraps for the rest of the week until deadline, which is Friday. And Yeah, and keep an eye out for our Game Week 26 preview video, which we are going to record in about 2 minutes' time. Okay. Bye bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Thank you. Please, and like and subscribe.
Please.